Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 33rd Academy of Distinguished Entrepreneurs and Babson's World Stage.
I had a plan. I graduated from Dartmouth College in 2002 and went to work for an investment firm and then a consulting firm. I really felt like I was on my way. But then in 2008, my aunt lost her battle to breast cancer, and I just knew. I needed to do something that was going to be more meaningful to me. My name is Kelly Murphy, and I came to Babson to help cure cancer. In 2009, I ran the Boston Marathon on behalf of Susan G. Komen for the Cure and raised close to $20,000 for the organization. I realized, thank you. I realized that I could use my business skills and entrepreneurial mindset to help nonprofit organizations advance their mission. Then I came to Babson in 2010, and I was greatly influenced by the culture here. It's a culture that teaches you that no problem is too big and makes you believe in your own ability to make a change. And it's a culture that gave me the courage that I needed to take my fight to the front lines. So I applied to the administrative fellowship position at the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute right here in Boston. I was offered the job over 120 other applicants, and I'm proud to say that I'm the first MBA in the role. I start in June. And now I can truly say that I am on my way.
I came to Babson to become an accountant and use my skills to help businesses succeed. My name is Rayshawn Whitford, and now that I'm a senior, I have a choice to make. Do I go to India to serve a fellowship in social enterprise, or do I accept an offer to take over Babson's Entrepreneurship Center in Rwanda? What happened to my original career goal? Babson happened. I came here looking to make a living, but instead was inspired to make a life. Babson has shown me that service is a valid business activity and that entrepreneurial thought and action can make a difference in the world. Over the last year, I have spent 9 weeks in Ghana. First, working on the Sustainable Design Project with a group of engineering students from Olin College, and then participating in the International Development Design Summit. I helped devise solutions that increased income for beekeepers. I worked to lower malaria rates in a small village. What did I know about malaria or beekeeping? Absolutely nothing. But I believe that knowing too much can keep you from thinking creatively and framing problems correctly. Babson has taught me to widen my horizons and to keep my mind open to opportunities, because that's what entrepreneurs do, and I should know. I am one.
I know we're here to celebrate the distinguished entrepreneurs tonight, but reality, we're here to celebrate Babson and a portfolio of pretty extraordinary people that we get to live with and work with every day. And that was just truly terrific. The stories are just absolutely wonderful, and we'll have 4 more students who have some stories of their own to share about their experiences at Babson. Now, tonight's a little bit different. We're in a new place, and we're delighted to be down here. And we're celebrating this event globally tonight. So I want to personally welcome our alumni and friends who are joining us from the following locations that are being streamed in: Beijing, Milan, Mexico City, Miami, New York City, Bangkok, Istanbul, and Caracas, Venezuela. Hope the food is good. Our thanks also go to members of the Global Advisory Board and the alums who've made this a truly global effort by hosting these events around the world. Before we begin our program, I also want to thank our angel investors, our friends and family investors, and our big idea investors for their very generous support. All of their names are listed in the program booklets, and please do join me in a round of applause for all of them. Finally, I want to recognize my good friend Mayor Menino for both his friendship and his support of Babson. As you may know, we celebrate tonight in the heart of Boston's Innovation District. This is a neighborhood that was envisioned and fueled by the mayor to foster emerging ideas and collaboration in order to spur economic growth. Babson proudly serves as the academic anchor for the Innovation District, and we participate in all levels of this emerging community. And we'll be joining forces with Mayor Menino again just in a couple of weeks as we partner to introduce the basics of entrepreneurship to more than 1,500 Boston school kids through our Lemonade Day partnership. As we celebrate 3 distinguished entrepreneurs who are changing the world through entrepreneurship coming off of this work, it's worth reflecting on the impact that Babson is trying to have on the world. What I'd like you to do as we get into the evening is just consider the developments that have taken place in just the last 30 days as we continue to find more ways to bring entrepreneurship in Babson to a world stage. Shahid Ansari, my provost, and I were in India last month to announce a partnership with Shiv Nadar University, otherwise known as SNU. SNU was started last year by a world-class entrepreneur who's one of the most socially minded philanthropists in the country. He's committed to reframing higher education in India by creating a new model of the university, and he sought out Babson for help. We'll be providing management assistance for an entrepreneurship-focused business school and for a new center for entrepreneurship. SNU has also joined the Babson-led Global Consortium for Entrepreneurship Education, which now has 9 other universities from around the world as members, and which we hope by the end of next year will have 25. We've come a long way since the Global Consortium was launched less than 2 years ago. Following India, Shahid stayed and went off to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, representing Babson at the signing ceremony to formalize our partnership with Unirazik, another new university member of the Global Consortium. 20 Babson undergraduates who were in Kuala Lumpur taking an offshore elective attended with their professor, James Hoops, and Xinghua Li. Jim later said how impressed the students were at this firsthand evidence of Babson's global reach, and how pleased they were to be part of an educational institution with the potential to make such a big difference in the world. Also, 61 senior faculty, including 7 deans from 24 Chinese business schools in China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Singapore, were on campus with us for 2 weeks in March to participate in a new program called Teaching Entrepreneurial Thought in Action. This program is the first of a 3-year commitment and represents just the beginning of our work together with these faculty and their schools. And there's more. And remember, not only is there more just in celebration, there's more representing the work of the last 30 days. The president and the board chair of Tec de Monterrey, one of the largest private multi-campus universities in Latin America, visited Babson seeking ways their campuses could become hubs for entrepreneurial activity in the 31 markets in which they play in Mexico. And alongside that, a group of 20 further education colleges in the UK have recently joined forces with each other and now with Babson to help transform their institutions into becoming agents of economic and entrepreneurial development in their communities. And they have sought us out to be their key partner and their exclusive partner, advising them as they go forward. These are just a few of the many ways Babson is working to stimulate entrepreneurial thought and action and entrepreneurship of all kinds globally, along with great partners like Goldman Sachs in the United States, who share our belief through the 10,000 Small Business Initiative that entrepreneurship is quite likely the most powerful force for social and economic value creation everywhere. The 3 leaders that we celebrate tonight have had and continue to have extraordinary careers that reflect that belief. They demonstrate entrepreneurial leadership at its very best. Howard Stevenson has probably had more impact than anyone on the field of entrepreneurship education. I mean anyone, and I mean anyone in the world. Over 30 years ago, he created what became the classic definition and the classic elevator pitch for entrepreneurship: the pursuit of opportunity without regard to resources you currently control. In the early 80s, Howard became the first chair in entrepreneurship at the Harvard Business School, undoubtedly the foremost general management educational institution in the world. The field of entrepreneurship was just in its infancy. And over the last 30 years, he was responsible for helping to lead an extraordinary shift from entrepreneurship as a startup academic discipline to an indispensable part of that institution's strategy. If you go to the Harvard Business School's website today, and I did, you'll see that innovation and entrepreneurship are very much a part of what they do. Just extraordinary work, and we're here to celebrate it with Howard and his family here tonight. Scott Cook revolutionized the way people and small businesses manage their finances. When his wife complained about the hassle of doing the bills and keeping the checkbook, he saw a need. Absolutely no question what happens when you have a man who wishes to evade responsibility, confronted by a problem. With a co-founder, he started Intuit in 1983 and created Quicken, the first technology-based tool so powerful and so important, it literally replaced the pencil for personal accounting and bill payment. This is the man who replaced the pencil. Now, I've had the opportunity to celebrate Scott in two different academic roles. First, as chair of the Service Management Interest Group when I was at Harvard Business School, where Scott and Intuit was our longest-standing case study of service delivery design and customer service. And now as the president of one of the leading entrepreneurship institutions in the world, where we get to celebrate the innovation and entrepreneurship that has accompanied the growth of that enterprise. Scott says his mission with products like Quicken and TurboTax are to change the financial lives of people and small businesses so profoundly that no one can imagine going back to the old way, i.e., get a pencil. And that's exactly what he's done. He created not only economic value with Intuit, but also social value, with impacts that have been felt in many, many ways around the world. Intuit has offered free online income tax preparation software and filing services to lower-income households since 1999. And in India, Intuit offers a text messaging service for mobile phones that is helping farmers get better prices for their produce, and in the process is having an enormous impact on this important sector of Indian economy. Desh Deshpande has founded or co-founded a number of successful businesses, including Cascade Communications, Sycamore Networks, and Tejas Networks. But to Desh, what's important is not how many successful companies he's created, but the impact that they've had. He's focused on achieving global impact by promoting social innovation and entrepreneurship to address societal problems, first in communities and then exporting these as models to be adapted locally around the world. Desh's family foundation has set up innovation centers, which he appropriately calls sandboxes, in India, at MIT, and at UMass Lowell. These are places where people can talk, share ideas, and work together in creative ways on local projects that are destined to have a positive impact. It's not a coincidence that these sandboxes happen to be located at universities and colleges. Desh believes that young entrepreneurs can play a critical role, especially when teams of students work with experienced business people and nonprofits to identify local problems and create solutions. Let's take a few moments to just look at some of the advice that Scott, Desh, and Howard have given over the years to see how closely aligned Babson's vision is with their work and why we're honored to have them and to celebrate them here tonight. Howard reportedly has said, and I say reportedly because I never heard him say it, but others say they have, entrepreneurship is like raising children. It starts with a moment of enthusiasm and is followed by decades of hard work. Every parent here tonight can certainly attest to both the moment of enthusiasm, that one magic moment, and the grunting years of hard work. And hard work is what entrepreneurship is all about at Babson, and we know every day is not a joy. Every day we recognize that entrepreneurship is practice-based learning, and there's substantial evidence that excellence comes from hours and hours and hours of practice. We recognize this in the way our programs and activities are based on practice-based methodologies. Act, learn, build, and act again reflects our belief that true capability and capacity emerge from trying. When things don't work out, we can learn from that experience. Howard's observations recognize that entrepreneurship is, in fact, a lifelong challenge and responsibility. Scott shares our strong commitment to action-based learning, writing in a recent Harvard Business Review article that action is the only way you can create the evidence that allows the scientific method to work in a world of extreme uncertainty. Scott and Intuit are adamantly committed to experimentation, pioneering customer service as well as product development. Intuit introduced the Follow Me Home form of product testing, testing the software program in someone's home, on their machine, in their desk, at their desk, in their office in the house, not in a laboratory. It was also the first software company to win retailer loyalty by offering a rebate when an Intuit product was purchased in their store. Under Scott's leadership, Intuit has long encouraged employees to come up with new ideas and to test them by getting real-world and active feedback from customers. That is the core, that is the raison d'etre of entrepreneurial thought and action. Desh has said, you always have to do, at least in order of magnitude, more and different from what you've done in the past. More and different is at the core of Babson's strategy. We continue to involve ourselves in more and more activities that are connected to our complete commitment to be different and better at what we do. Consider how different our Venture Accelerator program is from a traditional incubator, how different our business competition is from business plan competitions, or how distinctively Babson is to have 23 faculty from different disciplines come together to write The New Entrepreneurial Leader, a book that's already being used by faculty in other colleges who want to adopt our teaching methods. The 23 faculty, only 2 of them teach entrepreneurship. 21 of the 23 are discipline-based practitioners writing a book called The New Entrepreneurial Leader. And think about the logic behind the changes in the new blueprint for our signature and award-winning FME course. Because we're about to blow it up. Why? Because it's working really well. But we want to make it work even better. Babson makes it a priority to support emerging entrepreneurial leaders who can transform the world just like Scott, Desh, and Howard have done and continue to do. And in keeping with our commitment, and as a way of furthering honoring these 3 extraordinary leaders, I am pleased to announce tonight that Babson will be awarding scholarships in each of their names to 3 incoming students who are ready to work hard, who are eager to learn, and who will do great pride to each of their names. By providing a Babson education, we're not only helping to transform the lives of those 3 deserving students, we're also investing in the next generation of entrepreneurial leaders who will create economic and social value around the world for the benefit of all of us. Now, after dinner, you'll hear more about our 3 newest members of the Academy of Distinguished Entrepreneurs. Right now, it's your time to enjoy your meal, and we'll continue the program after dinner. Thanks so much for all you do for Babson. We welcome all of our friends here tonight, and we look forward to continuing engagement with you over the coming years. Thanks so much.
My name is Shoni Yakubjanov, and I am originally from Uzbekistan. My father used to work for the Embassy of Uzbekistan in Washington, D.C. When I was 13, my family flew back home, and I was seated next to a 5-year-old Russian orphan who had flown to the United States in the search of parents. Unfortunately, he was among those who were not adopted. He told me horrible stories of how he was chronically beaten and malnourished. It was that day that I decided to dedicate my life to helping out those who are vulnerable. When arriving to Babson, I learned that through entrepreneurial thought and action, I could make a substantial difference. In the United Nations Development Program, I was able to advocate for the rights of the disabled in Uzbekistan, where they are denied equal rights to education and employment. Due to the current political regime, change is slow in Uzbekistan. So I hope to work here for now and effect change externally. In my current position at HubSpot, I help nonprofits use the power of inbound marketing to get their message out and attract support. I'm thankful to Babson College for teaching me that I could do well while doing good. And believe me, I'm planning to do a lot of good.
You may think an entrepreneur is a person who launches their own startup. I am here to tell you that next month, I will be an entrepreneur, working inside a $4 billion company. My name is Pia Ostos, and before coming to Babson, I worked in brand management at Procter & Gamble. At P&G, I realized that to manage effectively a brand, you need the same skills as someone who manages a business. This is why I chose Babson for my MBA, because we are the leaders in entrepreneurial thought and action. This past summer, after a highly competitive process, I interned at Hasbro, the second largest toy maker in the world. There, they offered me a full-time position as associate brand manager for their global business division. I am the first international hire for the company in that role. Brand management requires passion and creativity, as well as analytical skills. Babson has helped me to develop both sides of my brain. I have learned to think outside of the box and to come up with innovative ideas and solutions, and at the same time, crunch the numbers and make critical decisions. I now have the tools to meet challenges head-on and the confidence to lead teams and turn ideas into action. For me, that's the true essence of being an entrepreneur.
We talk about entrepreneurship of all kinds and in all sorts of different ways. And one of the things we're obviously proudest of as an institution is to have basically the largest entrepreneurship academic division in the world, with full-time and part-time faculty, over 50 faculty. You can only imagine what it must be like to be the faculty member designated with the responsibility of managing the other 50 faculty. I mean, just think about that, okay? At least at the end of the day, I get to manage sometimes things, okay? Which is oftentimes a lot easier than trying to manage people. And a lot more easy than trying to manage 50 people who carry the label of faculty. So here to carry on the rest of the program, to walk us through the awards, is a very, very special person, okay? In so many different ways. She's a scholar in her own right. She's a spectacular teacher. But most importantly, on top of all of those things, she actually relishes the challenge of managing over 50 faculty and getting them to head roughly due west, okay, in approximately the same pace and in the same way. So here for the rest of the evening, Candy Brush.
Thank you, Len. That was a very nice introduction. I actually do relish managing all those people because there's always something going on and somebody always has something to contribute, so I really do enjoy it. So thank you for the introduction. I'm really happy to be part of this ceremony that celebrates 3 amazing entrepreneurial leaders who have taken significant action to create both social and economic value. They really represent role models for all that we teach in our 102 entrepreneurship courses and in our Butler Venture Accelerator, as well as all the co-curricular activities supporting the 300 students we have in the accelerator at this time. It's really my great pleasure to introduce our first inductee of the 2012 Babson's Academy of Distinguished Entrepreneurs, Scott Cook. Scott created QuickBooks and TurboTax, products that solved big problems for millions of individuals and small business owners. It allowed them to better manage their finances. We teach our students that identifying and solving a big problem is really the best way to achieve entrepreneurial success. At Intuit, Scott emphasized customer participation and testing in the innovation process, growing the company from a fledgling venture to more than 5,000 employees and $3.5 billion in revenues. So arguably, he was really co-creating products before it was fashionable. Tonight, we celebrate Scott Cook's entrepreneurial leadership in business and philanthropy. It's my great pleasure to introduce our first inductee of 2012 into Babson's Academy of Distinguished Entrepreneurs, Scott Cook. Please join me on stage.
I once saw Fidel Castro give a speech, and he stood up and said, "They've told me to speak very briefly. Why was that?" So they've told us we have 4 to 6 minutes, which is, I think, more than appropriate. I'm going to tackle the question of whether you can have innovation and entrepreneurship in truly large organizations with 3 stories of 3 entrepreneurs. The first is a team at Intuit, whose mission was to figure out how we could liberate people from having to type all the data to do their tax return at tax time. Remember tax time? It was just recently. How could we make it so the data went in automatically? And we already have automatic data entry from lots of sources, but there was so much more data that we couldn't get. So these guys had an idea. Could we copy, scan, photograph the data? And then the idea, well, why not take your phone and shoot a copy of your W-2? Well, the experts told them it wouldn't work. Lousy camera, lousy lighting, lousy forms. But they said, no, that would be great. Let's keep trying. So they went out to the 30 people who make the software that does that work, and they got them all to run experiments to figure out whether they could do it. 2 firms actually passed the experiment. So then they kept developing. Every 2 weeks, a new version would go out into test. And now, people can take their phone, snap a picture of their W-2. If the return is a simple one, they answer 9 more questions and they're done in about 15 minutes. 5 stars in the Apple App Store. We've had people write the best reviews I have ever read for anything we've ever done. One guy wrote in, "Wow, I just finished my taxes in the bathtub." Another guy wrote in on February 14th, "I just finished my taxes in bed with my girlfriend. She's so excited she might actually wear the Valentine's gift I just gave her." Second story. We challenged our Indian organization, who had been building products for North America. Find the biggest problems you can solve in a way where we can improve people's financial lives in India. Now, the general manager who runs the whole division, he had his own ideas for India, and he got those going. But he allowed his teams to do experiments. One team said, let's focus on farmers. Why? Because farmers are 65% of the households in India. Let's go out and find, where is there a problem we could solve? And is there one? So they went out and spent time with farmers. They did kind of the method that is taught here at Babson. They spent time with farmers, they observed what they did, they spent time with them in the markets, in their homes, in the fields, and they discovered a problem, one they thought they could solve. Farmers get rooked when they take their goods to market. They don't get a feed from Bloomberg about what crop prices are doing. So they don't know which wholesaler to take it to in which village, and once they get there, they don't know how to negotiate. So we thought, what if we could collect the prices every day and send them the prices for their crops at harvest time? Well, let's say a bunch of people in the leadership of Intuit did not like that idea. They thought it couldn't work for a whole bunch of reasons. The team was allowed to test the idea. So within weeks of coming up with the idea, they mocked it up and they did an actual test with 120 farmers and 12 wholesalers. And by God, it worked. So they kept testing, and now, over 15 tests later, 700,000 farmers in India get farm prices on their cell phone every day in harvest season. The hypothesis going in is that we could save them 10%. We could get them 10% higher prices. In fact, the farmers report we're delivering 16% higher prices. That's the difference. Who here would like to have a 16% higher income? Raise your hand. And for us, now imagine if you're a subsistence farmer, and that's the difference between your child going to school and not going to school. Third story. Can you use entrepreneurship to drive government policy? Well, I'm not in government, so I'm going to tell a story of someone else. In 1980, Deng Xiaoping took over China. The country was destitute, starving. People could not find jobs to feed their families. Deng Xiaoping did many things, but one thing he did was he ran an experiment as an entrepreneur. He took the town of Shenzhen and put a fence around it, walled it off from the rest of China, and ran it under different economic rules than the rest of China. Free market rules with foreign investment. Well, you know what happened to that experiment. Shenzhen exploded in jobs and productivity and companies, so much so that people were climbing the fence to get in from the rest of China into Shenzhen. That experiment worked and then was expanded to the rest of China and became the basis for the Chinese economic miracle. So you can form government policy off experiments. Or you could have our Supreme Court figure it out. You choose. 3 examples, 3 entrepreneurs, 1 story that entrepreneurship can change our world. And that's what we're here to celebrate tonight. Thank you to Babson. Thank you for Len for leading this. Thank you.
Congratulations, Scott. Thank you for your remarks. That was great. 3 entrepreneurs, 1 story. We really liked it. Desh Deshpande is a visionary entrepreneur. He imagined ways that network technology could unleash productivity and shape industries. He's led 2 really important companies from startup to exit, Cascade Communications and Sycamore Networks. Entrepreneurial ventures succeed when they do things differently, and the technology innovations of these 2 companies led to significant success. Cascade Communications was acquired for $3.7 billion in 1997, and Sycamore Networks, which he took public, is now worth about $48.7 million. Following this practice of doing things differently, he helped create the Deshpande Center for Technological Innovation at MIT, and also created a foundation that accelerates the creation of sustainable and scalable enterprises that have significant social and economic impact. This foundation provides support for emerging entrepreneurs imagining solutions for significant social problems. We are very pleased to recognize Desh Deshpande for his entrepreneurial leadership in business and philanthropy. Desh, if you could join us on stage, please.
Well, good evening. You know, we spent all day today in Babson College, and also listening to the students, feel like coming back and being a student at Babson. I too came from India. So, I think it's been an exciting journey for me. We've been here for 30 years in Boston, and I now have Paul Chisholm and Craig Benson and Tim Barrows, a lot of the people who've sort of helped my entrepreneurial career and build companies here. But in the last 10 years or so, I and my wife, we've been focusing on how do we bring this entrepreneurial energy, something that everybody in this room is really good at, to bring them to social interventions. So we started this experiment called Social Innovation Sandbox in India. It's an area of about 5 million people, and the idea is to promote local entrepreneurship, innovation, and get them to come up with solutions that are really suitable, very much like what Scott talked about with this, the farmers getting 16% more. So we are working with about 50 organizations, and some of them are doing marvelous work. And I just want to tell you one of them, because I think it really expands the imagination of what's possible, and it's pretty relevant to the students, because they all have a very compassionate heart. And it's amazing what you can do when you combine the compassionate heart with the execution excellence of what everybody in this room lives by. Because in the for-profit world, it's a very Darwinian world, it's a very cutthroat world, and you have to execute every day. So one of the organizations in India came to us and said, well, a lot of kids in India come hungry to schools. So why can't we provide midday meals, hot midday meals? So they said, well, let's use some good engineering, good supply chain, procurement, accounting, logistics. And so they build these kitchens, which almost look like refineries. They cost about maybe $4 or $5 million a year. And from one kitchen, they make 185,000 meals. And each meal costs only 12 cents a meal. And they distribute hot midday meal to these 185,000 kids every day. Once they got that working, they've been duplicating it now. And within 4 years, we are at 1.3 million meals a day, right? So this concept is, I think we like it so much, and it's so powerful that it's equally applicable to United States. So we actually started a social innovation sandbox in Lowell, Lawrence, just about 15 months ago. And so this is a call for action for all of you. Those of you who want to bring your execution excellence to solve some of these social problems with some compassion, would love to have you partner with us and see if we can actually make this thing work, because there's just as many problems here as there are in India and Africa. And so with that call for action, I really appreciate being a part of the celebration. And it's amazing what's happening in Boston just in the last 3-4 years with all the activities that are going on, whether it's Mass Challenge or Artisan Asylum or the Green Tech Incubator here, and it's just bubbling. And with all this entrepreneurship happening in this area, if we can not only apply that to the for-profit world, but apply it equally to the nonprofit world, I think we can create magic. Thank you.
Thank you, Desh. We always teach our students that a great rocket pitch has a call to action, and clearly he's pitched a lot of times because he had a great call to action. Howard Stevenson is an academic entrepreneur. He was first an entrepreneur and founder and president of the Beaupost Group, leading it from startup to $400 million in revenues. It's now a $22 billion company. Following this successful career as an entrepreneur, he became an academic, researching entrepreneurial behavior and practices and producing some of the earliest and richest teaching cases and materials. Today, Howard is a world-renowned academic entrepreneur, meaning he has taught thousands of students, produced hundreds of teaching materials and cases, mentored numerous faculty, and coached hundreds of entrepreneurial businesses and nonprofit organizations. His research created new academic knowledge and led in the development of the field of entrepreneurship. I'm really proud to say that my own teaching and research is heavily influenced by Howard's contributions. We're very pleased to recognize Howard Stevenson for his entrepreneurial leadership in business and philanthropy. Please join us on stage, Howard.
I wish I was as young as Scott because I could have walked up here easily. And as an academic, I enjoyed the leisure of the theory class. And my theory about this speech is to say thank you. And there are so many people to say thank you to. Babson, when we first started teaching entrepreneurship at Harvard, helped me understand I wasn't totally crazy, although some people would still argue, and Bud and Jeff certainly are involved. Then there are people like Arthur Rock who believed enough to tell Harvard that they were stupid not to do something in entrepreneurship and gave the chair. I had some great colleagues at Harvard. Many of them are here today who helped me to, actually, they didn't help me. They did themselves to create a field that has had an influence not just within the entrepreneurship area, but the way Harvard thinks about the problem, which is very exciting. And happily, as some of us exit stage left, we have young people like Tom Eisenman and Bill Kerr and others who are Noam Wasserman, who are taking the field well further than Jeff Timmons and I ever would have dreamed. So that's great. We also sort of have to thank the entrepreneurs because in 1983, people thought we were the West Point of capitalism. I think that was, we're going to go out and shoot people or something. But we discovered 50% of our graduates were entrepreneurs, and they were happier, wealthier, less likely to be divorced. And there was something wrong about the way we thought about our graduates. You know, 40 years ago, I'll look back, because these gentlemen have taken you forward, but looking back, I had a colleague who told, I think he told Bill Salmon, that entrepreneurship is an intellectual onion. You peel it back layer by layer. When you get to the center, there's nothing there but you're crying. I think the first case I wrote as a teacher was, I was told by one of my senior colleagues that I'd set case writing back 20 years because I'd focused on an entrepreneur, Howard Head. It sold 1.8 million copies, so something was good. And then when I got tenure, the dean, as he announced tenure to me, told me to do something important. So I resigned. And John MacArthur, with Arthur Rock and Faya Seraphim, sort of said, come back and do something. It's quite a different situation now, as they say. You know, we now have university presidents that write Just Start, and the Harvard Business School Press publishes it. Now, the fact I chair the press may have something to do with that. But we followed Len's book 40 years before he wrote it, and so have hundreds of millions of other real entrepreneurs who didn't dream of starting small lifestyle businesses, but rather dreamed of big, impactful organizations that started small. Arthur Rock, who gave the chair that I sat in before Linda Applegate now sits it, he provided a little help to some startup companies, Intel and Apple being two. He wrote our dean recently, said, people sometimes ask me if I had any inkling that companies I helped start would eventually be as big as they turned out to be. Of course I didn't, but that didn't mean they should not grow to reach their potential. That's how I felt when I funded the Rock Center. Who knows how big and important it might grow, but it has the potential of being limited only by the imagination and the hard work of the people running it. And I think that's been very true of the entrepreneurial venture. I think we all feel that the intellectual field of entrepreneurship has unlimited potential. Having taught over 8,000 students and delivered more than 3,000 classes and spoken to many thousands more in the 43 years since I started teaching, I want to say thank you to all of you who've dreamed big dreams. Not all of them have succeeded. I have a few scars brought on by Scott Cook's success because he personally killed a company that I funded. I was proud that we had a great idea. I just suffer from envy that Scott executed it better. But some other ideas that I've worked on have failed, but others have worked beyond my wildest dreams. I've seen the impact of success on societies around the world. Networking, such as Desh has brought to us, has really changed how we do, because never have more people dreamed of changing the way people live, work, and interact. And by the way, I think never have more people believed that change is really possible. So for that new vision, I thank not only the winners of this wonderful award, including the 10 HBS alumni who've won this. I think out of the 99, that's not bad. But also those who tried, failed, and rebounded and went on. They've truly demonstrated that entrepreneurship is not about risk-taking. It's about believing, acting, and learning. Entrepreneurship is truly about the pursuit of opportunity beyond the resources you're currently controlled, but it's not just about making money. Mohammed Yunus, the founder of Grameen Banks, attracts as many students as Donald Trump when he comes to speak to our students. But the great entrepreneurs pursue opportunity. And remember, there are two things. Opportunity is a desired future state that's different from the present. So you have to dream, and you have to believe it's possible. I'd like to be young, rich, and handsome, but it ain't an opportunity. The late Frank Batten, who founded Landmark Communications, which I hope you've never heard of, but they created the Weather Channel, among other things, reminded us all when I served on his board for 20 years that the goal of a company is not to maximize shareholder wealth, although he made billions. He always said, our goal is to serve customers at a profit. Profit is the constraint, not the goal. Too little profit, you go broke. Too much means you're not investing enough in your people, your product, or the infrastructure of your community. But your first goal always has to be serve the customer. Entrepreneurship for many of us is the past, the present, and most importantly, the future. Thank you for honoring entrepreneurship by honoring the 99 people who have been inducted into the Academy of Distinguished Entrepreneurs. Through this act, I think you honor all who try. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you to all of our honorees. On behalf of Babson College, I'd like to once again give our applause to Scott, Desh, and Howard for these great remarks and for joining us in the Academy of Distinguished Entrepreneurs. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
My name is Madeline Pickering, and I'm from Eugene, Oregon. Growing up, Oregon was a bubble for me. In fact, the first time I traveled east of the Oregon border was to come to my Babson interview. And my first real trip outside of this country was also with Babson during my freshman year to Rwanda. That trip to Rwanda opened up the entire world to me. In the last year, I've been to Ghana, Tanzania, and back to Rwanda. And in about 3 weeks, I'm headed to Croatia, Slovenia, Italy, France, and England. Before coming to Babson, I thought that the best way to create social change was through a nonprofit. But what I realized is there are plenty of nonprofits in the world. The problem is people don't feel connected enough to support them. So my idea is that through travel experiences like the one I had in Rwanda, I can put people with means face to face with people in need. In turn, those people with means will feel that connection to support nonprofits. This concept of human connection through travel means so much to me that I got the words miles to go permanently tattooed on my foot. Because as Robert Frost said, I have miles to go, and we all do.
You've heard some travel stories tonight. Here's another one. My name is Brandon Bell, and in addition to being an MBA student, I'm a lieutenant in the U.S. Navy Reserve and a submarine warfare qualified officer. After my first year at Babson, I was mobilized to Pakistan. I spent several months in Bahrain and 2 months on the border between Afghanistan and Pakistan. After returning to Babson, I tried to pick up where I left off. But the food company that I had started in the summer of 2010, it didn't interest me in the same way. When I joined the Navy, I began to see the world, and I want others to have that adventure too. That's why I'm currently negotiating to purchase an active adventure travel company by the end of this year. It's something that seemed impossible only a year ago. Through my experiences in the Navy, I began to see that the submarine community and the Babson community are similar. They're both comprised of hardworking and intelligent people who value teamwork. But there's one important distinction. In the Navy submarine force, I was taught to be risk averse. But at Babson, I learned to mitigate risk by learning to fail. As President Schlesinger says often, action trumps everything. I believe in my ability to achieve my goals, and I am mobilizing to do that. Thank you.